Hi, and welcome to this tutorial going over the functionality of Asset Tokenization Studio on Hedera. First, you will see the landing page, and you can choose to either connect via MetaMask or connect via Wallet Connect. I'm going to connect via MetaMask for the sake of this tutorial. You can see I've successfully signed in. And what I can do now is either import a already created security token, or I can create a new digital security. And I'm going to choose that. Here, I'm going to be prompted to choose either a bond type or a equity type. I'm first going with the bond type. Here in this wizard, we see we're going to follow 7 steps. First, we're just going to input some bond details, and that can be anything. So I'm just going to call this ATS test bond, give it a symbol. Any sort of decimals, I'm just going to stay with 6, and then the ISIN number. So with this number, there's a checksum. So I'm just going to paste an example in here. And then we go to the permissions. We have controllable, block list, and approval list. So controllable just means that if we have that clicked on, we enable the admin to force transfer or redeem tokens between any accounts. And that could be really nice for regulatory compliance or court orders or also emergency recovery. Then we have to choose either to have approval or block list. If I choose block list, that's a deny first approach. So we would block specific countries from being able to trade these tokens. And then what we have here is the approval list, which is more restrictive. So that means all the countries are blocked by default, but I can approve some of them where trading is enabled. Next, we have the bond configuration. And here we can either enable the clearing mode or disable it. The default is unchecked. What it does is that it's a 2-step settlement, so it will require validator approval. So before the user initiates any transfer, redemption, or any sort of token operation, it will be first in pending state, and someone can review it and then either approve or cancels that. And then when it comes to KYC, we have different ways to do KYC. We can either use the internal KYC, which I will do now for the sake of this demo, which means that the KYC is managed directly within the token contract, or you can also use an external KYC, and we will dive into this a bit later. I'm clicking next, and I'm going to come to the configuration. Now in configuration, I can say how many bond units I want. I'm just going to do 1,000. I can give this a value, so I just say 100. And then I can say the start date as well as the maturity date. So start date is the date where the bond starts to appreciate, and then the maturity date is the date where the yield would be paid out or the bond expires. Next, we have proceed recipients. And proceed recipients are basically just authorized accounts that receive the capital raised from bond sales. So when the investors buy bonds, the funds are then sent to these designated recipients. And you can add as many addresses as you want. And this is a Hedera account number. And what you can also do is add some data in there as well. So that can just be any sort of optional metadata to add on. Let's leave it blank and go to the next step. Next, we see here ERC-3643. So ERC-3643 is the newest token standard that we have integrated in ATS. And It's also called a T-Rex standard by Tokeny, and it's a very compliant and secure standard for regulated tokens, which mostly shines when it comes to its modular architecture. So you have something here called a compliance ID and a identity registry ID. So you can point to already pre-configured smart contracts, and then from there it will load your configuration. This is great if you need a integration with the T-Rex ecosystem, or you need specifically the ERC-3643 token standard, or you already have registries that are pre-configured and that you would like to point to. Next, we have external lists. And also here, the step is fully optional. So external lists are external contracts that you have already deployed to manage KYC, control, or POS functionality. Now, as you can see here, we have this on the side. We can configure this later, but for the sake of this demo, we're leaving it empty for now. Then we go to the next step, which is regulation. So by default, we have here the United States jurisdiction, and we're very keen to add more jurisdictions soon. And then we have a choice between Regulation S and Regulation D. And if you want to know more about these regulations, you can look them up, but you can see their details also here when you choose them. And Regulation B and C have different properties or restrictions. If we move on, we see we have chosen the allow list, so it will come up with the authorization list. So all the countries are blocked by default, besides the United States of America. But I can here pick any country and then add this to the list. And then click Next. Next, I will come to the review page where I can make sure that everything looks fine to me. And it's important to know that these optional fields can be filled out later as well, but that everything in the details or how many bonds we're allowed to mint is fixed and cannot be changed later. If I'm happy with my section, I can click Create Bond. It will ask me if everything is correct, and I can click Accept. This was successfully deployed, and I can see here my digital security details page. Next, let's see what we have here. We have an overview of what we have mentioned. We currently have a supply of 0, and this is because we don't have tokens minted yet. We can mint up to 1,000, as this is what we have set during deployment. Also here in the balance, I would be able to see how many ATB token my account has. And operations, I could interact with a token. In control, same. But first, to see any of these possible controls, I need to go to management and I need to assign myself a role. I'm just putting my account number in here. I see I have all the roles assigned. I can click to apply changes. And there we go. I now have all the roles assigned. So what I can go next is add myself as a SSI manager. And an SSI manager or issuer is basically someone who is managing the list of trusted issuers. So that can be any entity or users authorized to sign verifiable credentials that your token will accept for KYC purposes. So think of it like the whitelisters. And I've been added successfully. This is my account number. I am here. And then next, I'm going to go to KYC. And now that I am the master of the KYC, providers or of the KYC, I can add myself here and whitelist myself. I can upload my verifiable credentials file. And this has been successfully executed, and I'm now KYC'd. As I'm able to KYC account IDs, I can add this, and I can use a second account ID, and I can create more VC files and upload these too.
As you can see, this was successful, and now my both accounts are KYC'd. What I also have to check is the allow list, as we went with an allow instead of a block list. And I will have to add my accounts also here. So this is the most restrictive. And then I can add my second account. And I now see that my both accounts are added here. So I can go to operations and I can click mint. I can say how many I want to mint. I'm just going to mint 100 out of 1,000. And then I choose the destination account. And I'm first going to just use my own account here. And that has been successfully executed. So if I now go to balances here, and I'm going to check my own account, I can see that I have a total balance of 100. I can go back to the operations, and I can either mint to my other account, or I can do a forced transfer. So I can use my account as the source account, because I just have 100 ATB token. Then I choose my other account for the transfer, and the amount to transfer, let's say I want to transfer 50 tokens. I can click. And this has been done. And the same would happen, of course, with redeem. So these are most of the details that you can show here. Now, if I go to the dashboard, it will bring me back to my overview. But let's try to create an equity. And we're going to do this with external pause, external control, and external KYC. Let's start with the pause. If I want to create a new one, I can either say if the pause is activated by default or not activated. Let's do activated here, and this can always be changed in the token details page. And that was successful. So now we can change here also the status and deactivate it, or do that later. Next, external control. Also here, we either can import an external control that already exists, or we can create a new one. We can say if we want a whitelist or a blacklist. Let's do blacklist, and then create a new one. And also this was successful. Now what I can do is add addresses here. So I can say this account, my second account, will not be able to buy or trade this token. Also, this has been added. And lastly, KYC. Again, here we can either use an external KYC contract from a reputable provider, or we can just create our own. That has been created. And what I can do here is, for example, just KYC myself by default. And this is done. Now I can go back to my dashboard and I can create a new digital security. And this time we're going to create an equity. It's the same spiel here again. So I can call this test equity A. Give it 6 decimals. give it any ESIN, can say block or approval list, just keep it with block. Say if I want external or internal, and we're taking the external KYC. I give it a nominal value, a number of shares, and I can give it some rights and privileges. Let's say I want voting rights and information rights. And then what I can also do is the dividend type. So if I want a preferred, common, or none, I'm just going to keep it none for now. And now we can add the lists that we have created. So our POS list, all external control list, as well as our external KYC. And then we click next. This is again about ERC-3643, which we're going to leave out. And then we're going to specify our regulation, add a country to a block list if we want to, and else these are here by default. And then click accept, check that everything looks okay, and create the equity. And here we go. And we can see our list is working and the security is paused.